this is Scott Snyder, and you're watching the Sci-Fi Center.
Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Happy Thursday. And as it turns out, I did have a couple extra minutes on a Thursday to give you a show. We're going not live yesterday when the Clayface teaser hit, so we'll go over that real quick. And then I saw, the little promos for Lanterns. We'll take a look at that. Answer a few questions. It's going to be a quick one because I still, got other stuff going on this week, but I figured I'd give you maybe an hour and a half. That's presuming things don't go sideways. Here's the duck. How you doing, Hal Jordan? Protest. How you doing? What else are you doing in the middle of the night? How you doing, Aaron? Draft day. Yeah, I watched 0.0 minutes of I'm not a big draft guy, so I don't really watch it. I don't really care about it. In any sport, I don't care about. The only time I care about drafts in a sport is if my teams are trading draft picks to get a established star. Otherwise, I don't. Get back to me when the player's actually good. So yeah, I don't watch the draft. How you doing, Dan? Man, any interest in the Michael Jackson movie? None whatsoever. I'm pretty hyped going to see it in the morning, and I'm also going to try the ScreenX format where they project on the wall. Okay, you have fun. I know critics didn't like it, but that's usually meaningless. But so far, I've seen I've heard from people who've gone and seen it. They love it. But yeah, I have no plans on going to see Michael. Thoughts on the shareholders approving Warner Brothers and Paramount merger, and do you think this was bound to happen to Warner Brothers, especially after this mismanaged company? Well, yeah, it's been happening. We did a show on going all the way back to the AOL Time Warner disaster and how that set the stage for the company to be devalued and handed off like a radioactive potato for the last 21, 22 years. So, yeah, it's inevitable. How are you doing, Azteca? You got so this is what the Cowboys. Yeah, I know Mendoza went first. That's about all I know because they interrupted what I was watching to my little ESPN thing was telling me about that, and I'm like, I know the NFL's impact on the draft has a bigger impact on the NFL than it does on most sports, but I just don't watch it. Speaking of Mortal Kombat. Ugh. All right, so we are actually promoting that movie. No, that doesn't mean I'm going to go see it. All right. On behalf of Warner Brothers Pictures, Mortal Kombat 2 is in theaters May 8th. If you are in the Southern Nevada area on Free Comic Book Day, which is next Saturday, May 2nd, I am going to be giving away stuff related to this movie, and I'm also going to be sending you to an early screening on May 5th. Now, in order for you to participate in this, all you need to do is come down, and we're going to have the OG, the original Mortal Kombat set up for you to play. The highest scorers will get seats to that screening. So it's going to be that simple, and then we'll have some stuff to give away then. So Mortal Kombat in theaters May 8th. Also, another sponsor is Trauma Now. First month is free. After that, it's $4.99. Trauma-now.com. Support independent filmmaking because it's not just trauma movies that get played on there. It's smaller films that get distribution on there. So we're always saying, let's do something new. Let's do something original. Support Trauma. They've been original for 52 years now. All right. Thanks for reminding me about that. Let's see. Mortal Wombat. Yeah, if it were, luckily I just don't promote movies that I'm looking forward to seeing. I promote whatever they send me. So there you go. Because I am not going to be going to see Mortal Kombat. And Street Fighter looks like trash too. So we're going to skip that. What's going on with the LA Kings? What was always going to go on with the LA Kings? What people have to understand, and I've been going back and forth with my fellow Kings fan, is this: when you have bad management, no matter what you are doing, no matter what it's comic book companies, studios, sports team, bad management will fuck you up, and it won't just do it for a year; it does it for years. And what the Kings have had prior to Ken Holland taking over is they had a good 7-year stretch of Rob Blake mismanaging the Kings. Now, Rob Blake is a Hall of Famer. He deserves his rafters to be hung or his jersey to be hung at Crypto, even though he didn't win a cup with us. He won it with Colorado Avalanche, ironically. He was a horrible GM, in my opinion. He made decisions that we're going to be paying for years after his tenure, after he fled in the night last year at the end of that season. So it doesn't matter. We always talk about it on this show. Bad management has consequences. Warner Brothers, bad management, we've seen consequences that's had. But no matter where you're at, your job, the place if you have bad management in place, it's costly. So yeah, that's what the Kings are going to. They're playing a team that used to be like the teams that they built before they started doing the wholesale rebuilding and all that. When you start rebuilding, you're telling me when you're in LA, second largest market in the nation, you don't get to rebuild. Fuck you. When you come to me as a fan of a major, whether I don't care if it's New York, I don't care if it's LA, if it is a big major market with high expectations with players on that team who have rings and championships that are currently playing, if you come to me trying to explain a rebuild, you and me better be in a different place where I can't grab you. Because we don't get to do that. You get to do that shit in Idaho. You get to do that shit in Nashville, Indiana, places where, maybe in Canada where there's nothing else but the hockey team. But you come into LA with a rebuild, we got the Dodgers, we got LeBron. No, fuck you. So that's what Rob Blake did, and we're going to be paying for that. I hope I get to see a cup before I leave this mortal coil. And speaking of mortal, what's going on, Brad?
Oh, yeah, yes. Doth my ears deceive me? From some of the comments, it seems Williams promoting Mortal Kombat too.
I told you that. I knew I was going to be promoted. We promoted the last one. Yes, and if there's a Mortal Kombat 3, we're going to be about it. But like I said, make no mistake, guys. I'm going to do what's asked of me from our sponsors.
Williams promoting a martial arts flick. And Williams also promoting a martial arts flick that's sequel to one he didn't like.
That I absolutely was a waste of fucking time. But that's not up to me. If I only promote the movie, if I only promote the movies that I like, we're not going to promote any movies because most of the movies we promote, I'm not a big fan of. But these are not for me. Listen, it takes up no time for me to play that promo. Now, where it would take up time is if I actually went to go see this movie. I'm not going to go see this movie, so that's not hurting me.
I find it fitting. I'm drinking tea this evening.
No, because you're not dealing with those type of people. You're dealing with me. I do business. I don't give a fuck about people's emotions when it comes to movies. I don't care. This is what is necessary. This is what is necessary to continue to get movies from this distributor.
Here's the other thing about that too is that the now box office tracking is not an exact science. So it's like no, you can't take these things as like, I mean, perfect gospel, like right out of the gate. I mean, sometimes the tracking will come in, it'll say one thing, the movie might do better, might do slightly worse, better. But apparently it's MK2 is tracking open pretty damn awesome, like to the point where it's like it's gonna like outgross like the entire earnings of the first one opening weekend.
That's not hard, but congratulations. That's a low bar, but fine. I mean, enjoy
Mortal Kombat. Like, I know multiple people who have seen this who are saying this thing is rad. So
fine. I'm like I said, you can come down to the center, you grab your t-shirt, grab your poster, play some Mortal Kombat, and then get the high score. I'll put you on the list. I will do my part. But yeah, I fortunately, for every Project Hail Mary, there's only one or two of this movie. Movies like Project Hail Mary, I want to see that movie. That was a great movie. I enjoyed that movie. But if I go down the list of movies that we've promoted, it's not a pretty sight. Some of these movies suck.
Promoted Justice League. Knowing what we know now, I mean, it's a very unique situation, but.
And there are movies that I know going in, I'm like, I would rather dine on my own feces than watch this fucking stupid movie. But I do my job.
By the way,
it has been.
And this is just for Aaron, this is just for William, but really for everybody, we had a new trailer for it. Actually, more of a.
They sent me a different trailer too. I got to upload that, by the way.
Oh, so you see, so it was the one today. They had like the theme where it's like listing the characters' names. That was the one that they
that's the one my handler sent me, but yeah, I didn't even click on it because I'm not going to see the movie. They want me to play it, but I'll do that on Saturday. We'll do a Saturday show.
Oh fuck that! Let's do it right now.
No,
right.
No, I have to upload it. It's not one. It's uploaded. Because if I play the one that they give me, they knock me down. If I play the one that they sent me, or if I play the one just straight off YouTube, I get knocked down.
There is no rhyme or reason in these copyright strikes.
All right, so what are my thoughts on the last episode? I actually enjoyed this episode. I thought it went back. I think it went back to what I liked about this season.
Well, like where would you rank it as far as this season? Because it was pretty damn good for me too. I think I'd probably rank it pretty high as far as like episodes.
I think I would. So how many? I mean,
this is number 6.
I have to go. But I have to go look because there are certain episodes like the first 2 episodes I thought were really good.
Yeah, the season started off very, very strong.
Yeah, it didn't have a weak episode until we reached number 5, which number 5 was the weakest episode. So it's somewhere. Since we only have one bad episode, in my opinion, I know some of you guys loved it. I actually like this episode. I'd have to give it some time.
And see, I really dug. I mean, it's one aspect of the episode, but the last couple of minutes where it's like again, Matt just pushing fist buttons there. It's like, what if we never met? Like. And how much that set them off. And again, as you were saying, in what happened in the 2 episodes previous, where Vanessa gets the glass shard in her skull and eventually dies from that.
Should have died that episode, but what?
Yeah.
By the way, I saw a freeze frame, and I'll bring it up later on. I don't have my where they show the Kingpin standing in front of the army that's been referred to since last season. And that scene did not. It has Jessica Jones in there. It has Karen Page in there, but it's a bunch of just people from Hell's Kitchen. So I freeze framed that, but I forgot where I sent. I'll send it there.
But what was I saying?
That was encouraging because you guys have already.
Well, not tactically, because if you want to take down the Kingpin, you got to bring out the big guns, and it's not homeless people. But what was I saying a minute ago?
Who cares?
So when you talked about like she was like his tether to his humanity, and even then, it was pretty flimsy. It's like she was like just keeping him like that far below, like losing it at all times. So once she's gone, then he's completely off the handle. And we saw it. Of course, we see that. Where it's like, the guy, the deliverer. Just the guy breaking the bad news. Like he's the first one.
Completely not. Kind of useless killing, but that's just to put you in that mindset that this guy.
That's what he does. Yeah. He's not a stable.
He kills the doctor. That doctor's grieving too. He just lost a patient. Doctors feel that shit. Poor guy lost the patient, and here comes King.
And he didn't put the glass in her head.
Yeah, you bullseye. Go get bullseye. It's crazy ass. Who doesn't care about dying?
And that's since that moment. Again, 2 episodes. This is where the whole thing started. that's where my mind has been at with Kingpin. Is like, it's like once he loses her, it's like we already see how volatile he is. I mean, just having like a date interrupted with her.
Well, they
Again,
showed him when he was a fucking kid.
Exactly, but he's like, again, she keeps him grounded, but again, he's just barely below the breaking point at all times, even when on a good day with her. And so now that he doesn't have her, it's like, it's okay, now all hell breaks loose, and he's what he's going to unleash in these last couple episodes is really. And there's also,
Right.
I guess it's from season 3, where it's like the picture of him floating around with like a Santa Claus beard, and I'm sure you saw that.
Yeah, so
It's like from that's like film from probably from the filming of season 3 that's going on right now.
Oh, I thought you were talking about. Okay, yeah. All right, so I am both thrilled and annoyed today because we got a little thing from when it comes to the Lanterns show.
It wasn't your trailer. It was
Wasn't a trailer. It was what he had a poster, and we're gonna show it.
Yeah.
And there's been
it's on the thumbnail.
Yeah, it's been some kind of silliness going on, and I'm gonna measure my words because I don't hate people.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of embarrassed right now with some of the stuff that we get. But let's take a look at this thing.
And of course, the other poster. Yeah, the other poster.
I don't think it had sound to it. Did it? No.
Well, it's like a GIF basically.
All right, so you can see. Yeah, it's a GIF. The poster looks like this, so we're gonna just use this.
There can be.
All right, so obviously you see there it says Lanterns. Only one can wear the ring, and I got people everywhere posting every lantern and all the lanterns. There's 3,600 lanterns. Does anybody know about anything about DC? Sometimes you guys, even the ones I like and I'm friendly with, sometimes you guys hurt my head. Sometimes you guys hurt my head because it's like the words and the nonsense jumps out of your skull before the smarter side of you can grab and say, oh, that was stupid. They acknowledge in the previous teaser that they know there are other lanterns there. When they say only one can wear the ring, they are more than likely talking about the two principal characters that we know that are going to be at the core of this first season. You clearly see two people in that GIF, in that ring. We know who those two people are. And we know there's only one ring because of the previews we've seen. But yeah, I got people saying, well, what about this guy? What about this guy? And I'm like, oh my God. First off, guys, listen. I bleed wrestling and comic books. I'm the biggest advocate for us that I know personally. These people that are making this are not writing a comic book. They are telling a story that is inspired and based on it. And if you are being fair and honest, almost every major adaptation, good or bad, has done this. The Eternals are not fucking machines, yet they were in that movie. Peter Parker has had no use for Tony Stark, yet he sits on his lap in the movies, and everybody loved it. On and on and on. Most of your the Guardians of the Galaxy, that's not the original Guardians of the Galaxy, and they didn't meet that way, but it works in the movie. So why it's selective that we're like, we don't have a problem with most of this stuff, but certain projects have to be, comic book accurate. I'm like, are you even reading these things? And if you're reading them, great. I want you guys to read comics. This is not a comic book. DC Studios doesn't make comic books. I have thousands of comic books if I want to read a comic book. I don't need another format to see you do exactly what I've already watched you do for decades on paper. what makes these things intriguing is that the fact that we have these platforms to show these things on, and we want to see where the storytellers are going. Last damn thing I want you to do is basically recreate the one-to-one comics. I don't even want the show if you're going to do that. I need to watch Emerald Twilight. I can read that. I know what's going to happen there. I let that storyteller tell that story. Now it's time to let these guys do it. But if you go up and down this entire comic book genre since 2000 up till now, you would hurt yourself trying to lift the load of things that they did not. They just did whatever the hell they want to. Why? Because they were making a narrative decision. They are making a TV show. They are making movies. They are not writing comic books. And then you know what? There's a chance that I might watch that and it could suck. Then I'll be all over it. But this is what we've done since 2013 up till now. It's like trying to kill a groundhog. As soon as that motherfucker shows his head, you're ready to kill it. Don't even let him come out and figure out if we still got 2 more weeks of spring yet. Just kill it. We've grown this culture of killing shit before it gets going. Did that with all the movies, the DC movies in the early 2013s, 20s, and whatever. And it's like a culture of it now. It's like, heaven forbid you watch it. Heaven forbid we don't overthink this and bring a the magnifying glass to it and be like, wow, that's not the, and take these 1 minute and 2 minute teasers and try to connect the dots like that fool on the meme. I mean, my goodness, today was one of the sillier days. But you know what? Push that all aside. Because I've said from the beginning of this whole thing, I'll watch Creature Commandos, sure. I'll watch Superman, okay. I'm going to give Clayface a try. No problems. Get me the Lanterns, period. That's it. That's all I wanted. Now we're getting close to that. We're starting to see the visual and physical manifestations, can't even talk tonight, of Lanterns getting closer. I don't know if the DCU is going to be going any longer after all this mess that goes on. Who knows? I don't know. Don't even want to talk about that right now. But I endured everything else. I endured the dog with the cape. I endured, all the craziness, because this was a show that when he first announced it and when he announced who was working on it and when he was announcing, who was going to be in it and the premise and all of that, I was sold on this. So, it's sad that we're already pulling our pants down and shitting on something that don't even come out till August. And the basis of the criticism is coming from something that generally just doesn't apply and has not applied. These people are going to make a story fit for the screen. If you want to read the comic, I want you to read these comics. My selfish reasons. But that's not what we're always doing here. And it's funny because it's okay somewhere and it's not okay somewhere else. And I'm like, if you can't take the fact that these people are going to do this, whether it be Marvel, DC, or whoever, then why even watch the shit? Let's go all the way back to The Crow. I was a big fan of The Crow before anybody knew what The Crow was. Most people didn't know, and this is sad but true, most people didn't know what The Crow was until Brandon Lee died making it. I didn't shit rockets over the fact that the bird is not talking while he's explaining the myth and all him the whole movie. I didn't, because they were making a movie, not a comic book. I got the point. So this today was just kind of silly. And I saw the feedback and I'm like, my goodness, this is why we can't have nice things. But I think this looks great. Not the biggest fan of the movie.
I gotta agree with you there. I mean, about like they're creating, they're not doing a comic book. I mean, they're doing a comic book show. I mean, it's like, imagine if somebody decided, hey, we have a Daredevil show and we want to bring in other heroes. It's like they're just making a show. It's like they're not adapting 1-to-1, right? We got to be like, trust them and go along for the ride with this, don't we? I'm sorry, you set me up so perfectly for that. the whole time I'm thinking like I can't
You set
resist.
yourself. Okay, so I'm bringing substance to the show. You're
That's it. That's it.
yeah.
It's your logic. Your logic.
Shut up. No, because this show
Yeah.
hasn't come out yet. I've
Well,
seen. See, that's
my
not even a good
only
point
thing.
because I haven't seen the show. Hold on, real quick. I've seen what happens when they put too much weight on a Daredevil story. I haven't seen any of Lantern yet, so.
And
I'm
my
all right
only my only thing with like the tagline is it's not even like specific to the show itself. It just every time I see it, just reminds me too much of Highlander. Like the whole like there could be only one. It's kind of it's not even like a I don't think it's like a conscious choice on their part. It's just like you know only one.
I don't even like the I think the tagline is not necessary. To be honest with you.
Yeah, probably. So, but it's just like a mental little hopscotch. I just can't reflexively have anything. And whenever there's like there's only one or there can only be one. It's like when it's phrased in like a comparable manner. It's like it's hard not to kind of jump there.
Yeah,
even though
I can understand it.
Yeah.
That now they are a bit giving up the goose because I have suspected that Hal Jordan
Hal dies.
Either he dies or he ascends, or I hope they don't do the parallax thing, but that's a possibility. But Jon Stewart is casted in Superman Worlds of Tomorrow or
Man of Tomorrow. It's just called Man of Tomorrow right now. It might. I personally I've seen speculation that they're gonna like do the whole like Superman Man of Tomorrow thing.
Woman.
Wait, William, you're breaking up.
Tomorrow, man. To dog, cat, whatever.
You got buffered there, man.
Yeah, no, that's why I waited until hold on. Let me.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of theorizing that by the time it comes out, it's going to be like Superman : Man of Tomorrow. I don't know. I kind of feel like they're going to stick with just Man of Tomorrow because we already had Man of Steel, so it's like
it doesn't. Yeah, I'm already. It doesn't matter to me. But Jon Stewart is supposed to be the Green Lantern. Now, I think what ends up happening is that something happens to Kyle, or not Kyle. I mean, he's named Kyle Chandler, but I'm thinking Kyle Rayner. No, something happens to Hal. Something happens to
Kyle
him
at some point, though.
I do too, but I think who knows?
He was my first Green Lantern. Reading Green Lantern comics as a kid.
He was the Green Lantern that saved the series, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. Now, I think something happens to him. Either he becomes paralyzed, or he just retires, or he's killed. Something happens to him where he is incomplete. So we'll put that on the side here. I also think that something happens throughout the storyline to where they understand that it can't. There's too much going on, and this is how they did in the comics for there just to be one Green Lantern Sector 2814, because at any given time, Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart, and what's his face? Guy Gardner are all operating at the same time. Even after Rebirth, you have Kyle Rayner. You have them all operating on Earth.
You have Simon Boz. You have Jessica Cruz. I mean, how many human Green Lanterns are there now? There's
now some of them have different sections. But here's the thing, though, is they have determined over the decades that Earth is the nexus of all of these things. Darkseid targeting Earth. Darkseid has an entire universe that he can target. He targets Earth. The whole reason why we have the all-in the absolute universe is because the anti-life equation is on Earth, and he needs to be able. So Earth is a bigger target than the rest of the other, 36 whatever sectors or all that, right? So at some point they determined, just as they did in the comic books, that Earth cannot just have one lantern, and that the lantern that is there will probably have to augment other lanterns, and that will be Jon Stewart's other places of the galaxy, and then how Guy Gardner would be the one on Earth. So I think this takes place before Superman, and I think at the end of this series he gets Guy Gardner, and he has to be his headache, which is going to be hilarious. But that's what I think happens there. I listen. Damon Lindelof, he's only failed me half a time, but I'm in the minority because people love people love Lost. I got off of that train.
Oh, I don't remember like a lot of love for the finale, and I didn't even watch the show. So.
Well, the finale, I don't think they loved the finale. People try to forget about the finale. Oh, I love Lost. Okay, what about that ending? Oh yeah, well, nah. See, you can't do that. The ending. I saw that ending. I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, I didn't even watch the show, and I remember like hearing about how like much of a backlash there was to that.
I was laughing, but that's his only one that he's done, in my opinion, that I did not like. I love The Leftovers. If you guys get a chance to watch Leftovers. It's another HBO show. I think the world of Watchmen. I think Watchmen's the best live action TV show I've ever seen. I wish we got more, but he didn't want to do more. So now here he is doing this, and I'm okay with it. I don't have a big problem with Tom King. I do agree with Jared. His Wonder Woman story, not to the extreme point that he doesn't, but his
you put it more diplomatically than Jared does.
Yeah, he's missed the mark with the Wonder Woman storytelling, but not with Supergirl, not with his other stuff that he's done. So I mean, and this is, to me, you know, we're and every time I hear somebody, don't you know anything about comics? You literally have a guy who has written comics and another guy who has done a comic book TV show. And Damon Lindelof is great, and you're doing it on HBO. You're doing it on HBO Max. You're doing it on HBO Sunday.
Well, I would push back on that endorsement. Not that there's not saying it's like it's incorrect in this instance, but just like just like a general statement, like we got a guy involved in the comics, so why wouldn't you trust him to handle the movie side? Well, that happened before with another guy, and we saw how that went.
Yeah, but
like,
that Jeff Johns was not given the type of oversight that Damon Lindelof and Tom King have. That's a totally different situation. See, just because something was done wrong before just doesn't mean it can't be done right now. And you also have to look at the resume of the main person, which is Damon Lindelof. I mean, you're talking about an Emmy Award winning guy who knows how to tell a comic book story. So I think that the people that are here on keep that up for a second. I think the people that are on board are complementary of each other, unlike when you had total disarray with the Jeff Johns situation, because there was nobody. I don't think Jeff Johns. I don't know Jeff Johns personally, but the biggest difference between Jeff Johns being a success and being a disaster was his bosses, his people to tell him to say no. Because when people finally told Jeff Johns no, that's when things kicked in. He's going to fight or fight.
The point of no return.
Yeah, but that's not his fault. It's not his fault. I don't blame the employee for things that the management and the ownership are supposed to handle. You know, if you let them run wild, that's on you. That's not the situation here. So yeah, what makes Tom King so polarizing exactly? He takes big risks. He takes big risks. He takes unconventional risks that a lot of times fly in the face of what the traditional trajectory of those characters are. In my opinion, it's a mixed bag sometimes. But in this industry, you only have to hit 50% of the time.
There's also now this is kind of external of like his career at DC and career at DC Studios, but he's also, for those of you not aware, he's former CIA. He was a fairly pivotal figure in the Iraq War, let's say. It's like, now that's, I mean, your mileage may vary, like, or your stance that's going to vary person to person, like where on your thoughts on, you know, previous military conflicts and decisions by the U.S. government. But it's like, I've seen that float around a lot too, where it's like that can rub people the wrong way. It's like, I'm not saying that's where I stand with him, but it's like, I've seen that brought up a fair amount.
Most people who will consume his stuff won't refer to that. Most people who have an issue with Tom King have an issue with the decisions he's made narratively, and that's fine. That's the right of a consumer. But he has success. He has success. I mean, his movies, you know, his one of his most popular stories has now been adapted to. You know, he's an executive producer on this. So, but there are things that some of those, not every risk. The one thing about risk, they don't always work. You know, I appreciate the boldness of taking them because you never get anywhere. You know, a parked car goes nowhere. But when you take these big risks, sometimes they don't land, and it's fine. I mean, you can say what you will about Wonder Woman, but I like his Supergirl. And he's got plenty of other things under his resume. This guy's an award-winning writer. So Jared,
when he hears the name Tom King, and that same emoji is like, that's Aaron when she hears the name Denny O'Neil.
Even Denny O'Neil's a legend.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm with you on that. It's like everybody has a bad day at the office. Wonder Woman was it.
Or not even a bad day, a day that we just don't agree with. Because guess what? Another man's trash with another man's, you know.
There are people who do like, you know, both of their. It's weird how like both of them like they're the big controversy with both of them in DC Comics is their takes on Wonder Woman, which like, there are people who like him. It's not definitely much more so. You know, there's people who don't, but
show up at WonderCon where I got the lines so long that other than Scott Snyder, he had a line that wrapped around. I mean,
Scott,
people
this time, like next year, not even like next year, probably a Comic-Con this year. I can't even imagine like what like the Scott Snyder's like what his booth is gonna look like. Because I mean, just with the phenomenon that Absolute DC has been, like
the one thing about him though is, and I really have faith in him that he's not going to change. He's going to be the guy. Well, Tom King's a nice guy too, but Scott Snyder, as far as like him staying, he's going to sit down, and you know, especially at Comic-Con, he's going to sign until there's no more signing to be done.
Well, I mean, look, I mean, so you got, I mean, now you have like a, you know, I'm talking about like you DMing with him and like getting you know, comics from. Now you've got like a little bit of an inroad with that, like being a comic store owner. So I'm sure that kind of like, how did that even start? Like, do you guys like have like a thing where it's like you agreed you wouldn't like share how that all started? Or is that kind of like a
how what in particular started?
How like your you know, connection started?
I asked him. He was posting. You know, he was trying to get it going. This is before it got really, really big, and he was putting out advanced copies of it. And I'm like, okay, sure, yeah, can I? You know, he just, if you want a copy, an advanced copy, just DM me. And so I DM'd him, and I had no illusions that, yeah, well, I didn't think I was going to get a reply back. He's like, sure, let me know what you think. And then at first, like I said before, I was like, okay, I'm not saying a robot, but that's like an automatic, let me know what you think. I'm going to go ahead and let him know what I think. And then I'm never going to hear from him again.
Oh, I've had that. I've gotten interviews that way where it's like, I've like had like a quick Twitter interaction, and it's like, then I don't expect them to reply, and then they do. And I say, oh, well, this is like, let's strike while they're on top and get something out of that. So you never know how, like, again, it's social media. It's like the you never know how the you know, seemingly insignificant little links we make over thousands of miles and through you know, global internet communication can turn into, you know, much more direct linkage.
Yeah, because I spend time sending out emails and chats trying to get content for the show, trying to get people in, and 99.9% of them were rejections. So to me, I was fully expecting it's going to fucking send me shit, or he's like, you in any sense, and I'm like, he ain't going to care about my opinion. Thanks for, I might get a thanks for reading, and no, he actually went back a couple of lines, and then when I actually had a question about a certain thing that I thought was happening, and I wasn't sure, I'm like, is this what you meant to say, or am I seeing this wrong? And then he responded. And then I'm like, you know what? Hey, I got this YouTube show. This is back in like way back, like September or whatever.
So,
you know,
this is like, oh, so had we hooked up by that point?
Yeah, we were rolling with it. This was recent. It's like 8 or 9 months ago. And I'm like, hey, I want you. You know, I want to get you on the show for, you know, a couple of minutes there. He's like, yeah, no problem. It's you know, and then something would come up, and then he would be at a show, or something would happen business wise, and we just kept. I'm like, hey, you know what? Whenever you get a chance, I'm not. And then I'd wait for a couple of weeks, you know, like, hey, what do you think? Oh yeah. And then finally we got to the December area, and then he said, let's do it in January. I'm like, okay, let's do it in January. And then, we were going back and forth on our chat, you know, because he was asking, trying to get input, and then I started posting my reviews, and if you look, he retweeted my review, and I'm like, okay. And then he asked me, what did you think about it? Things. I'm like, you already commented on it. I'm like, oh yeah, because he comments on a lot of people.
I think you shared also. There was, I think it might have been like Bleeding Cool. I forget who it was, which outlet that that like screenshot like a whole bunch of like reactions. Like it was a recent issue of like Absolute Batman, I think it was.
And one of them was his.
So yeah, exactly.
Like I said, I know where I am on the food chain. I'm even on the chain. So things like this were cool to me. So I got that. And then we just, you know, he's like, okay, wait in January. And then I'm like, cool. And then I got back in January, wait a couple of weeks. And then he's like, hey, I'm taking my oldest to college. You know, this is going to be, you know, really, time. So can we wait till February? All right, cool. And we get to February, and, you know, we was just silence. And then I was doing shit. And then finally at the end of February, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be at WonderCon. Do you want to do it at WonderCon? It's like, yeah, just walk up to me. I'm like,
and
I don't know if that's gonna work, dude. I'm like, I mean, I'm like, dude, I don't think that. I just walk up to you. I'm gonna get like escorted out. So I'm like, no. And then as we're landing
out, why would you get escorted out?
No. I mean, you just walk up to somebody. You got lines of people, not escorted out, but told, you know. But because everybody's gonna walk up saying, oh, I interviewed, and I'm like, nah, here's my things. So he got there on Saturday. I'd gotten there on Friday, and I'm like, I'm here. He's like, that's when he's texting people. You see on his plate, he's talking. And she said, ask me anything. So I asked, and I messaged him. I'm like, I'm here, and he's like, I'm still on the tarmac because my plane hasn't flight. So he gets here on Saturday. Then I'm just a fanboy. I have my stuff to get signed. I'm waiting in the line just like everybody else. And then I walk up to him. I'm like, to let him know I am. Well, we've been going back. So, oh yeah, the Sci-Fi Center. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, okay, cool. You remembered me because I got people who are blood related to me that don't know about the Sci-Fi Center. So, and he's like, yeah, let's get it done. So he picks up the card with the schedule and looks at it, and
Fourth has
I beat him up anyway. He says if you're here, before my last signing, which is 10 20 or whatever, 10:20 because the signing was then I'll get you in. So I get in, I beat him there, and I stand in line. Everybody's looking at me all cross and crazy because they're like, what's this guy doing here? And then he walks up, and then right, if you look at his Twitter or whatever, he's standing next to me. He's standing next to a guy who cosplayed as Absolute Scarecrow. I was standing with that guy because he wanted to pose with him. So me and Scarecrow were waiting together.
I'm telling you, this would be so perfect that with that shirt, all you gotta do is beard, scepter, you're the wizard.
Okay. So that's how that happened.
You got like a third of like the wizard Shazam cosplay already set.
It's just like any other interaction that I've usually gotten rejection on. This one worked out. That's pretty much how it could happen.
Yeah, it's like I'm trying to think, like, is there any story I have definitely multiple where I've connected with you. Well, I mean, this relates to the Flash actually. Mike Lambert, is the fight coordinator on the Flash, and that of course he's also, I mean, well known in my circles, like his work in like Hong Kong movies and stuff like that. And he was also one of the fight coordinators on Zack Snyder's Justice League. So when the Flash was coming out, I just said, it's like I've wanted to interview him for like ages. I mean, he worked with Jet Li and all that, but now he's got this coming up, and I'm so glad that like all the cloak and dagger on the Snyder cut is behind us now, because anytime when I do an interview now with like anybody in the business, if I know they worked on if I know they worked on that movie, I don't care what they're currently promoting. I find it some way to like work a question in about that, which I don't think that's like, I don't think that's unreasonable. It's like a movie that was
that's unreasonable.
It's a movie that was never supposed to see the light of day, and it has. So it's like, but anyway, so it's like I DM'd him on Facebook. We set it up, and rest is history. Who else? I'm trying to think who's another good example I've done that with. Kung Lee from the the MMA world and in the UFC. And it's kind of similar to what you were talking about with Scott Snyder. I saw one of those memes like circulating around, like name your favorite MMA fighters. I just say, well, I love kicking. So it's like Kung Lee's like one of the greatest kickers in there. So I tagged him. I tagged his page, and I figured it's like he gets like 8,000 of these a day. He's like, he's not gonna notice this. Next day he says, he replies that, says, thanks, Brad. I say, oh, okay, here's a doorway. Let's set up an interview. And then about 2 months later, did that, and it's up live now. So yeah,
I'm starting to even get rejections. Usually I listen. The ones that I'm used to are the ones where you just don't get any return. I send an email out to no email. Now I'm starting to get the soft rejections because I wanted to interview Stephanie Phillips, the writer of Daredevil, and generally I was like, I'm not going to get a return. In fact, I'm not even going to get an acknowledgement that I fucking exist. No, her agent read back say, hey, as you can probably understand, Daredevil #1. Coming out right now, she has her time committed between writing. The schedule's good. So right now it's a no, but maybe somewhere down the line we can get together. And I'm like, okay, I'll keep that door open. Before, when I started this, I was getting nothing. I was getting, like I said, the majority. People probably are not honest, especially at this bottom level of small channels like this. They're probably not honest about what the percentages of the hits they get. And mine is miserable. But I throw the line out there, you might catch a fish. I mean, I'm not afraid to be like, hey, would you want to come on my shitty YouTube show? I don't say it like that, but
you miss 100% of the shots you never take. So.
And if I hadn't asked Scott Snyder, I wouldn't have gotten that interview with Scott Snyder. And the same thing with Lloyd Kaufman, and meeting with Lloyd Kaufman and meeting with the people from Choma. I'm still the interview by James Gunn that I know I'll never get, but because he's gotten bigger by now. But who knows? It's out there. if I'm at Comic-Con and I'm standing next to Lloyd, which I'm going to be because we film his panel,
He's
who
going to be
knows?
there this year?
Yeah. So who knows might come over. He if you see Lloyd, not kindest guy in the world, he will introduce you to everyone. He will introduce everyone to everyone. So I was just fortunate to be, but yeah, the effort is there. There's so many rejections I get, or it's just the ones that you don't get. I can't even remember how many because they don't get back to you. So you're like my little channel, like, oh, rejected. But
Sonoff says, "William, I'm surprised you didn't say Jessica Jones felt shoehorned
because she wasn't
even in the episode. I mean, she was. I'd say like on the basis of the episode, it's like her appearance, and we're gonna see more of her, just based on like the one image of her with like the Army Daredevil assembles against the Kingpin. And I'm gonna pull up actually in a minute that image I showed you of like a Fisk in season 3 with the beard, because again, just kind of showing like the progression of the whole thing and going to season 3. But she's I mean, she's in a little bit at the beginning. She's got like a conversation on the rooftop with him, and then a fight scene with him. So it's like her role,
perfect.
Her role, again, with the caveat, there's going to be more clearly, but her role in that episode was like I think really kind of served. It served a function of like really sort of further sort of tethering Netflix to Born Again.
Yeah, but making people who are not going to watch that show a little bit lost, and I understand it, and I don't disagree with it. But it presents a problem.
Well, it's kind of like what you said. Like they need to find some way to figure out how to do in particularly like comic book shows. The thing you were talking about that they'll do in comic books, where they'll have like the characters like reference an event from like 20 issues ago, and they'll have the little asterisk saying as seen in Amazing Spider-Man number 329. Like it's like I don't know how you do. I'm sure there's a way. It was like we just haven't figured that out yet, or like how you would do that on a show. But
or have a QR code on the thing that pops up.
That could work. Yeah, I could see that.
And you can scan that, and you can watch that later, or you can share the link and watch it on your computer, or if you're on TV, you can share the link. You can do something so that you don't have to go back and watch those.
Like during the episode, like maybe they could have like a little icon for like like as they're referencing that, then they could have like in like the lower like right hand corner, like the little icon saying like, hey, here's the episode where that happened, if you want to like click on it,
and it literally links you right, not even the whole episode if you don't want to watch it,
just to the scene in question. Yeah,
because otherwise you're tethering things to a show that a lot of people haven't watched, and it's kind of important now. We're not just we didn't do a reboot. We did a straight up line,
which lets, I mean, I think it's fair to say at this point, I mean, would you, like, prior to the overhaul in season 1, like, would you, that version of Born Again, would you say that would have qualified as a reboot?
No, because you're still using, once you decided to use Charlie Cox, you pretty much, it would have been more like a realignment. It would have been a bad idea, especially when I hear the idea that, now I like the idea of having 18 episodes, but
well, I think that kind of went out the window like once, because they were like halfway into it before they kept some of the stuff they shot for season 1 in the version of Born Again that they did with season 1, but still, again, I think once they made that decision, they kind of also had to like make the trade-off of, okay, we're going to have a lower episode count now.
Well, higher quality. So to answer your question, Sonop, I did not think this episode shoehorned her in, and they may not shoehorn any of them in. Now, if I see an episode to where I'm like, where the fuck is Daredevil? Well, I got Danny Rand, or why I got Luke Cage, or why I got all these other people that I did not tune in to watch.
Well, I mean, if you got Danny Rand in the suit, which is canonical,
but that's not the story you're telling right now. If and when we get to that story, then he is relevant. Then you're not cluttering. He is the main character. See, when they did that, he became the main character. He wasn't a guest. He wasn't in my way. He was the guy. So that's if you get to that, I don't think they will. But if you get to that, that's different.
And here's the other thing with Jessica's. This also, I think, kind of reflects like that Born Again. Not that Netflix was, and that was my big, when they were starting Marvel Netflix, kind of my big fear was that I was thinking, like, with the characters they were doing, the idea, the thought I remember having at the time was that this is going to be like, this is going to be like the, what's the word I'm looking for? I know William rags on the CW big time, but that I think I was thinking at the time this might be like the MCU like equivalent to CW, in the sense that it was going to be, the budget was going to be like one 25th of what we were getting in the movies, and it was going to be just really, it was going to be very, very watered down, and not the shows on Netflix. I mean, they weren't throwing $200 million at each of them, but I mean, they weren't like shoestring budgets. They were working on Netflix, but with Born Again, are we going to play Clayface in a minute? And by the way, we got to get to
no. Go ahead and finish your point.
Then once we got to Born Again, I do think it's, even though none of the Netflix shows were shoestring, were super low budget, but I think they definitely have a bigger budget with Born Again. I think that part of that with Jessica Jones' appearance, that was reflected in like a lot of these for her strength or powers and that, where she's like picking up like doors and made out of solid steel and throwing it at dudes in the fight. They emphasize her super strength in a way that probably they didn't necessarily have the resources to on Netflix. And so that's, again, I think that goes to show, it's like, again, not that was like threadbare what they were doing on Netflix, but again, like, it's just like they do have more to work with resource wise, with what they're getting on Born Again. But I'd imagine it's going to continue with as we see the characters return and get their respective solo careers going, and Daredevil continues on his own.
Don't think that they're getting, but hey, who knows?
They're not bringing them back to just say, hey, we're here for like one off Defenders reunion without doing a Defenders show. It's like, these characters are going back, guys. Sorry, it's okay.
Wishful thinking, but that's what a fan gets to do. Fans get to do wishful thinking with other people's money.
This is not wishful thinking. This is logic.
Wishful thinking.
Logic.
Whatever. We're not. It's wishful thinking. Fanboy.
The hell it is.
What? William. Brad. Fuck Brad's thoughts. William, thoughts on
I haven't seen it yet. I'm
hating Michael? I am not going to see it ever. Hating Michael biopic since it doesn't cover the controversial points of life.
Well, I mean, it's a biopic, and it's one that's also like officially, if not, it's not the product of the Jackson State, but it is kind of like some kind of semi-sanctioned by the Jackson State. So it's kind of like, well, I mean, did you expect them to like paint him in like the most unflattering light they could?
Like I will say, with anybody who's had controversy in their lives, their following doesn't have to give a shit about any of it, and you can't make them, and you can't tell them they're wrong for it. They made this movie for people who are going to eat up whatever they put out for Michael Jackson positively. Now, you as a consumer can make a decision that if you want to go watch a documentary and you don't want to watch this, then you don't have to. But these people who made this film know where their money is coming from.
Well, and also, I mean, it's kind of similar to Born Again, where they had a kind of a mid-production overhaul. And I think some of it relates to like kind of like legal issues of like what they, not even like how it was portrayed, but like what could and could not be, said or discussed on the part of like the Jackson family with respect to those.
Yeah, because there's other people involved in that. So have rights.
So that meant that if this movie touches on that, then we have to. And that legally we can't, then we had to like take that part out of it. And then I haven't seen it. I'm going to see it tomorrow, but my understanding is it ends. And they've also talked about like splitting it into making this a two-parter if this makes enough money, which this is absolutely going to be a hit. But my understanding is that it ends right about where like around the time of like Bad, like that, like the filming of the Bad. Yeah. So that's which that was before all that stuff happened anyway. So it's like, okay. So it's like, this is covering like his life up to a point before like any of that controversy happens. So it's like,
but they don't have to cover any of it though. They don't have to cover any of it because they know that that is not going to matter to the people who are going to show up to this movie. Critics, they don't give a fuck about the critics. They know who they made this money for. And guess what? The consumer does not have to care about
what
that.
Did you see? Because I saw Campia talking about like their he said he's like read through a lot of their reactions and
they're pretty bad, but
but he also said like none of the negative reviews he had read like were that, like he could tell like the basis for it was not this, I don't like this movie because it didn't like tackle controversial elements of Michael Jackson's life. That was not the reason that was being cited from everything he read and like responses to it.
Yeah. So but they know, and the reason why this movie is going to make so much money, because nobody cares about any of the other shit when it comes to him.
Well, I'm like Straight Outta Compton. I remember how much of a hit that was, and it's like, I mean, now none of those guys were like accused of anything Michael Jackson did.
That's the big difference. That's the big difference.
But I mean, like Dr. Dre in particular, like had some, sordid activities of his own. But I mean, that didn't like stop.
Yeah, but that because the sordid activities that those guys were involved in were part of the culture that made them what they are. That was the brand. Even if it's shit that now 30, 40, with a 40, oh my God, they've been around. Yeah. Even if you're talking about things that they won't do anymore, that they even might regret these days, everything that was going on with them was part of the culture.
Well, I mean, it's stuff like you've like talked about on the show being like very like opposed to like.
Yeah. So, but that was part of the culture. This with Michael Jackson, you either were going to love him or hate him or not care. And I say right now, Michael Jackson was alive today and wanted to come over here to Allegiant Stadium, say, I'm doing a show at Allegiant Stadium, even with the controversies. Because remember, when he died, he was getting ready for a sold-out tour. We already knew all this about Michael. All the allegations are already out there. And the reason why he was under so much pressure is because he had sold out this tour. So,
and the other thing about it too is that I mean his allegations.
Thank you for the $5 super chat.
No, it's like nobody ever like really got the goods on any of that. It always like, as far as like that side of Michael Jackson's life, there's always like it's still kind of very much a gray area. It's like people like can and have like made arguments like for or against whether or not they think he did what he was accused of doing. So there's still that kind of the fact that it is still so debatable. I think if it had been if hard evidence had like come to light that he had for this stuff. I mean, this is the kind of thing we've agreed. Like this is the
hard evidence, as in, there was no hard evidence to be had. And when you settle, I mean, because we got fucking Rob Lowe was on tape with some chick. I mean, he survived. It's going to be in the eye of the beholder.
This was children, though. It's like if you get proof of like doing that kind of stuff, children.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I can't predict what audiences are going to care about. I wish I could. I'd be in Vegas. I am in Vegas with it. But yeah, I wouldn't touch him. To be honest with you, I think to me personally, there's enough smoke there to where there were some I'm staying away, but I can't tell you if you
I mean, if anybody, like, I suppose anybody must know my thoughts. I mean, it's like I think you can argue either way. I mean, Michael Jackson was definitely an eccentric individual. I think we can all agree.
But there was also a history behind that too, and it's kind of sad the way Joe Jackson, a lot of that.
That's something I read too. But again, I'm going to see it tomorrow night, so I'll know more about that. But
William will not be seeing this. It is to me, this is the antithesis of what we talk about on the show. I don't know how it got brought up.
But from what I read, the movie like really does kind of like zero in on, if there is like a focal point of it, it's how much his upbringing under his real SOB.
He never got to be a kid, so
his real SOB of a father like really kind of like impacted him for the rest of his life.
Yeah, who lived here before he passed away. I talked that shit, William. The fact that you got some people saying that the trash ass Green Lantern movie is already better than the show, hasn't come out yet. So fans are annoying, and I'm sorry, I am not defending that movie. Fucking blew. There were some good aspects of it. Mark Strong is great as Sinestro.
I like the suit a lot. I was
the suit is awful, but
the suit is like that's when I think of Green Lantern, like the suit is a construct. It's like
this is why, that's why I let the people doing the story do the story, because my little pea brain,
and that's what my brain, and that was the story. Is like is the suit is going to be made of energy,
but that's what they decided to do.
As is frequently the case, certainly these days, comic wise.
But if you understand the Green Lantern and if you follow it, there's certain times where it is not. I mean, those guys had a shot to tell their story. It wasn't very good. It had some strong points, but I thought that movie was awful. And I'm glad they didn't go any further with that because it was just bad. But yeah, that movie, I have a hard time thinking that movie is going to be better than anything. But the problem with the Green Lantern 2011 is you tried to make a movie for fanboys instead of just making a movie.
Well, I'll see. I mean, you had a guy we were talking about earlier, kind of like, butting in and all that. I mean, you have to, open old wounds, but,
But bad management. Jeff, listen.
There is a pattern with this guy.
You either understand how the hierarchy of management works or you don't. Bringing up Jeff John's name is pointless. Jeff John had 2 layers of bosses over him that they could have stepped in and whose jobs it was to step in and say, no, we're not doing this. They're the ones that approved the daily, not him. They were the ones that were producing and putting the money forth and having to answer to people, not him. If they let him do that, that's on him. That's not on Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns is just a focal point for fans who don't know anybody else involved. That's the last guy on the total point.
Well, yeah,
there are so many checkpoints that should have been.
As Phil, I remember Phil saying when you mentioned that one time in the box stream. Phil said, "Yeah, but he was hired to be the management." Again, he was.
But he was not the management. He had a boss. He had a boss, and if that boss fucked up, that's on that boss. And we had that. Not only did you have the producers, you had a studio head. You had a whole bunch of people involved in that fiasco. So yeah, but no, I didn't like that movie. I thought that movie looked like somebody who just read comic books made the movie, and which is fine. I love you all that read comic books, but we're not movie makers. Sometimes we get these movies that happen when people who just don't appreciate what making a film is and only appreciate what they have in their head. And that's what you get. You got Green Lantern because of that. So yeah, I doubt that movie is going to beat out anything that I see in the future. But
let's go ahead and play Clayface.
Let's try to go. He probably knows more about this project he's working on than any of us. You're an outsider, just like us. He's the one writing it. It's like you telling the pilot of a plane, "Hey, let me in here. I know what I'm doing." All right, here we go.
Which, by the way, I hope we don't get pulled down for this too.
Oh, the song is probably going to get gets us, but that's fine.
You want to play it on mute?
Okay. Will it matter? I don't know.
Yeah, probably not.
It really, yeah. It'll just say we can't get monetized.
Yeah.
All right. Looks good to me. It reminds me of the low budget 80s horror shit that I grew up watching. And I mean that in a good way. I do not mean that as an insult. That looks like some slightly above low budget production, but like a Canon, or Kuroko or something, like some of the stuff that the body horror stuff you would see in the mid 80s, like a Cronenberg. Right. That almost looked like a Cronenberg movie.
Yeah, I could see the Cronenberg comparison. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm like, can you kind of put us aside, pull up the poster there?
Which poster?
The Clayface one. Yeah. Maybe because it's like we got the poster and the teaser at the same time. I don't know. It's like I think the poster did a little bit more for me just because it does have because it is showing it's a little bit more explicit in terms of like emphasizing like the body horror angle. I mean, we had like shots of him like doing the. No, this is a different look for us. There we go. Yeah, so I think I'm a little bit more preferential to the poster. But that
the poster remind me from a John Carpenter movie called I think it was In the Mouth of Madness, and Prince of Darkness. It reminds me of those kind. It reminds me of an 80s horror movie.
It would be like, I think you could definitely watch this and like not other than like DCCU's logo. I think you could watch this like not connect this to DC. Well, DCCU's logo and the Clayface name, and even then it's like Clayface is definitely not one of the better known Batman villains, but you could watch this and like not connect this to anything Cape shit related at all. It's definitely I mean, I don't know. It's like, would you expect like any? You'll probably be name dropped, but do you expect any kind of Batman presence in it at all?
I don't know. Well, okay. So according to James Gunn, this takes place before everything. So this takes place before Superman, Creature Commandos. It takes place for everything. So I don't know. We haven't had a Batman reference in
We
up
have
to
like the
now.
quick little silhouette of him in Creature
Yeah,
Commandos.
in
And that's
Creature
about
Commando.
it.
So maybe I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm not like gravitating towards this like it's the greatest thing in the world, but it's very intriguing. I'm a horror fan, so it basically falls into that category for me. So I think that this is going to appeal to people who don't necessarily go to comic book movies that like horror, that like indie horror, that like low budget horror. I think this is going to appeal, and I
There's a
think it's
reason
an
why.
advantage.
There's a reason why it's coming out like a week for Halloween, definitely.
Perfect.
So,
Perfect.
but
I
yeah,
think it's going to be fine.
but yeah, the poster kind of uh, the poster, for lack of a better term, the poster does have a little bit scarier to me. So maybe
It also looks like The Howling. If you look up The Howling original poster, it reminded me of that.
well, it also kind of, it looks to me like which Scream movie was it that has like Ghostface mask like in the shape of a knife? That kind of looks similar to that to me too.
They're also unforgettable. You're asking the wrong guy.
They're unforgettable.
No, they're forgettable.
Yeah.
I'm done with the Scream fans. I was done years ago. But what do you think about the idea of Miami Vice 1985? Because I'm sorry, hell no, do I want to see Michael B. Jordan with the Jerry curl? He won't have a Jerry curl. I don't think he'll have a Jerry curl. He might. I don't know. But it sounds like they're doing a period piece. Like I said before, do not call this a reboot. You didn't have anything to boot. You had one movie in 2006, and you had a show. Now, unless you are relaunching a show with brand new people and modernizing it, then that's not a reboot. This is a remake. That's what this is. It's a remake of the premise, which is fine with me. That means you're gonna have 80s music, you're gonna have 80s clothes, you're gonna have 80s. But if you try to, and you're gonna have 80s synth music, so that's fine. I mean, I don't, I think Michael Mann's handling it, so that I'm okay with it. I think that's the best bet for them to have success with it, because you're doing something that is going to be true to an era instead of trying to drag something that only belongs in the era. The one thing about Miami Vice, it's one of the unique things about Miami Vice, is that it is completely encompassed in the 80s. It began and it ended in the 80s. It's almost like that's the only place it belongs. So if you're going to do anything with Miami Vice, it's probably appropriate and probably more acceptable. I don't know who froze, me or Brad.
It might have been me. Or Brad, it was you.
Okay. It's probably appropriate that we keep it in the 80s, because that's where Miami Vice began and it ended. So I'm okay with it.
The other I'm reading this off of the the Clayface Wikipedia page, and it's, as you maybe kind of, we didn't really touch upon this because you were listening. You were like every Saturday night we would do like a retro kind of look back on like an 86 movie, but this is from the Clayface Wikipedia. Safran said the film would have a campy tone, Peter Safran that is, and instead compared it to the horror film The Fly, which looking back at 86
that's a Cronenberg film.
Well, it's also an 86 movie, which
1986.
Which we haven't tackled that one yet as far as like a look back at 86, have we?
No, we haven't. We will. Depends on what version. I'm not. This is not me knocking the animated series, because I thought for what it was.
I think it's pretty. Well, this is the Matt Hagen version, so. Yeah,
but this is the version that actually already appears in the shape-shifting. The shape-shifting version of Clayface appeared years before, in like 1985, 1986. I think it's like Detective Comics 586, something like that, years ago. I mean, years before the animated series was even a thought. So I would, refer people back to the comics. I mean, yeah, they used a consolidated version of that character in the cartoon, but there's actually full-fledged stories in the comic book where that version, the shape-shifting version of him, is originated. So if you want to, and it's far darker, it's darker because it's a tragic story how he becomes that way. So if you want, I should have the issues. Let me see. Hold on. You can go back and read those comics. You can go back and read read things like Mudpack. Mudpack was a story that included all of the Clayfaces, I think. So, all right. So the Clayface that is in this one is I'm trying to get to the bibliography where it shows you the first appearance, because I actually have them at the Detective Comics 298, no, 478. I'm sorry, 478. So you can go all the way back, and that's quite a ways back. So if you want to, I mean, Feet of Clay is what a lot of people refer to, but if you want to go deeper and darker, you can go all the way back to his actual first appearance in the comic books. Let's see, what were you about to say?
No, I wasn't. I mean, oh, did you freeze again? Damn it, froze again. Okay, there it goes.
Yeah, I'm tired of this fucking internet doing that shit in the middle of my show. People are talking, taking the Lantites at very. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the tagline was necessary, to be honest with you, but I understand. Of course, they're going to have. They talk about other lanterns. Remember, he said one of them's a squirrel. So we know that we're not talking about that they're dismissing the other lanterns. The show is centered on those two, and Hal Jordan he's leaving. He's retiring. The whole point of Jon Stewart is that he's taking his place. So yeah, I thought people, but that's what they do. People analyze the shit out of shit. All right, I think we've covered everything. I mean, that I feel like covering tonight. William and Brad, film journalist Richard Newby, was upset that Clayface isn't in Elseworlds film.
Well, I mean, because Matt Reeves is involved, and I think, and that's actually, I mean, this is going to be, it's kind of interesting with this one because it's sort of, I mean, for the longest time, I couldn't really pin down like where this was going to like sit, whether this was going to be Elseworlds or DCU or like.
Oh, I knew exactly where it was going to be. Once they said the shape-shifting villain, I knew it wasn't going to be in Matt Reeves' Batman. So that was an easy one. And no, it doesn't need to be in Elseworlds because of the fact that why? I mean, why you're creating this for this particular universe? Why does it need to be in Elseworlds?
Yeah, but I mean, there was up until I think probably like within the last 6-7 months. It's like there was because it was both a Reeves project and a Gunn Safran project. I think
speculation by anybody.
I think a lot of people felt really, it just kind of was in this sort of purgatory of like, where exactly is this? I mean, it wasn't part of like the initial slate announcements, so there was, I mean, a lot of like lack of clarity. People had like, what exactly is this? Where exactly does this plug into?
That's on them. That's on them, though. I mean, there was nothing out there for them.
No, it's not. If this wasn't part of your initial slate announcement, you announce it, okay, but make that clear from the jump, like where this is going to fit in the pantheon of everything.
They don't have to tell you that until they're ready. And when he said earlier on, they said shapeshifting. That was something I knew. I'm a dummy, and I knew that earlier on. So common sense told me if it's a shape-shifting version of the character, then it's not going to be in the grounded.
If there's the possibility of Mr. Freeze and that Ant-Man Part 2 is like,
but that's not going to be the blue. I guarantee you, you ain't going to see a dude with a fishbowl on his head with some blue skin and a ray gun. Now, if we do Mr. Freeze, it's going to be like I was telling you, Ice Truck Killer in Dexter Season 1 or something like that. Or like it's going to be somebody who could exist. And he said that. Matt Reeves even gave away the goose end. He said there's not going to be anything in my world that couldn't be in yours. So a shape-shifting Clay Play-Doh man, that to me told me what I needed to know. But all right, we're about to wrap it up. Richard Newman, okay, Creature Commandos. But I know who, guys. By the way, guys, I know who Richard Newby is.
And that's the other part of it too, because that's the other thing too. We also had a Clayface and Creature Commandos. It's like, okay, is this that same character?
Okay, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt of that it's probably going to be consistent with what you saw in the cartoon. We've seen some horrific things in here, but he may be goofy and funny. I haven't seen a movie yet. So until otherwise, indicated, I'm gonna assume that Clayface is that Clayface, that it's gonna be kind of goofy, and he's not gonna be all depressing. I mean, he might be funny. I don't know. This is uncharted territory. You're doing a Clayface movie. You're already in uncharted territory. I cast a magic missile. Okay, you're high. Oh, a lot of people might. Yeah, I mean, you realize they still make the money when you're watching. All right, that's about it. Tomorrow's Friday. I will not be streaming. I don't even know if I'm going to do the vodka stream because we're headed towards that point.
Well, like you said, like you're kind of finish line and all of this is like the second.
Yeah, May 2nd is we got the Mortal Kombat video game thing added to that because we're going to have people playing the original game that was released in 1982, and I'm going to have it up on our TV or up on the screen to where the people come in, get their free comics, look around the store, and then we're going to have them. If you want to go to this movie, you can go ahead and play. And at the end of the day, the highest scores are going to be the people who are going to get the tickets to the advanced screening. We might have T-shirts and posters. I'm not sure what the budget is, but if you show up, and they tend to send me like a shit ton of them. Anybody who shows up will be able to get some of that stuff. Just like I still got Project Hail Mary buttons, even though I gave a lot of those away, they gave me a lot. So yeah, if you come up May 2nd, you're in the Las Vegas area, free comic book day. We also do my grand opening and my unveiling of my new sign. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on that day, and I just want to make sure I'm ready. So when I'm at the store, there's a good chance that there will not be a Saturday overnight live show because that's one of the, we're running out of full complete days to get everything the way I want it to look. So it's just all going to depend on how I take a look at the place, and if I think I'm where I need to be and I have some time, we'll jump on. If not, I'm just going to keep rolling. So apologize for the inconvenience, but I had real life retail shit's got to get done, and maybe after May 2nd, I'll feel a little bit better about doing it. But until then, let's see. All right. I will see you guys when I see you. Like, subscribe, share, watch some of the older videos where I look ridiculous, and have a good Friday. Actually, we're in Friday.
Yeah. See you guys.
All right.